Our first artist was Curtis Blow. We currently represent like 40, maybe 40 artists, including Curtis Blow, Houdini, LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, of course.
This is Russell Simmons. During his early years, he managed many notable artists such as Curtis Blow, LL Cool J, Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, and many more. His resume spans over 40 years, and he's been incredibly successful across multiple industries. A hip-hop mogul, serial entrepreneur, and big-time yogi. Simmons was on top of the world, but his reputation and legacy took a turn for the worst back in 2017 when 13 women accused him of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and even rape. Simmons has vehemently denied these accusations and has kept a low profile ever since, resigning as CEO of Def Jam and relocating to the island of Bali. Many of the alleged incidents took place at the very beginning of his career, starting in the early 80s. Simmons was already well established in the emerging hip-hop industry. He worked as a promoter and was managing several acts. If you owned a club and wanted a hip-hop act, Simmons was the guy to call. It all started one night in 1977 when he first heard an artist named MC Eddie Chiba rapping in a nightclub.
I walked in Charles Gallery in Harlem, and there was a rapper by the name of Eddie Chiba. And he was spitting rhymes, and people were responding to him. He said, "Who make it sweeter? Chiba, Chiba, Chiba."
This was his first time discovering hip-hop, and he described it as witnessing the invention of the wheel. From there, he would become immersed in the culture, throwing parties and hosting events, looking to network with up-and-coming rappers. Simmons attended the City College of New York in Harlem, and it was there where he met fellow student Curtis Walker, also known as Curtis Blow. It was 1979, and the hit record Rapper's Delight was making its way through the airwaves.
Here's Wonder Mike, Hank, and Master G, the Sugar Hill Gang.
The
record was deemed as hip-hop's first official hit, and Simmons was there for its inception. Heavily inspired by the record, he and Blow would record a single titled Christmas Rappin' with the hopes of securing a record deal. Unable to generate interest, Simmons decided to press vinyl copies of the record himself and hand them out to DJs to play at clubs. After making its rounds, they started gaining traction as record companies began receiving calls inquiring about the song. It was Polygram Records that would go on to sign the MC to a deal. The song would be released in 1979 and went on to sell more than 500,000 copies.
But this ain't 1823, ain't even 1970. Now I'm the guy named Curtis Blow, and Christmas is one thing I know. So every year, just about this time, I celebrate it with a rhyme. Bought a red suited dude with a friendly attitude and a slave full of goodies for the people on the block.
Make Def Jam Records happen. Def Jam started out as a company in my dorm room. We started about a year ago. We made good records. We just got a label deal with CBS, Columbia Records, actually, for a whole lot of money.
It's 1982, and Simmons' younger brother Joseph, also known as Rev Run, formed a hip-hop group with his friends Daryl DMC McDaniels and Jason Jam Master Jay Mizell. Simmons would help co-produce their first two records titled It's Like That and Sucker MCs. The group would secure a record deal with Profile Records, and their debut album in 1984 became the first ever rap album to be certified gold.
With the success of the first LP in America, is Run DMC's music a compromise to capture a mass white audience?
So we just make what we like to make, and usually what we like, a lot of other people like also. So whatever we feel we want to make, we just go ahead and make it, and if it's successful, then we're glad.
In 1983, Simmons met an aspiring 20-year-old producer and NYU student named Rick Rubin at a Manhattan nightclub. They were polar opposites, as Simmons was a savvy hustler from Queens and Rubin was a punk rock hippie from the suburbs of Long Island. But the two ultimately hit it off. They both would become equal partners in Rubin's new label called Def Jam, which he had been running from his dorm room in NYU. Def Jam's first hit would come with a young 16-year-old named LL Cool J that they had signed. The song was titled I Need a Beat, and it allowed them to secure a distribution deal with Columbia, becoming the first independent hip-hop label to secure such a deal. Success only continued as Def Jam quickly became a multi-million-dollar label, and Simmons would continue to exceed in other endeavors. In '89, he co-founded the Simmons-Lathan Media Group, creating hit TV series such as Def Comedy Jam and Russell Simmons Presents Def Poetry. In '92, he launched his clothing line Fat Farm, which he went on to sell for $140 million. Other ventures included Rush Communications, Unirush Financial Services, Baby Fat, and Tantris Yoga Studios, to name a few. With this, Simmons became the one who set the blueprint for other future hip-hop moguls to follow in his footsteps. All in all, Simmons was very much well liked by everybody in the industry. He was considered a founding father in hip-hop and was very much a media darling, as he presented a clean image, heavily promoting his yogi and vegan lifestyle, and was also a very active father to his 2 daughters. He had developed a great reputation amongst his peers, and he was still very active in his businesses. But everything took a drastic turn in 2017 when his life and legacy would change forever.
I did not want to come forward. It was the last thing I wanted to do. Everyone said, don't do it. It's going to ruin your life.
I felt like no matter what I said, nobody was going to hear us.
I was helping him cover it up for 22 years.
It all started in November of 2017 when Simmons was accused of sexual misconduct by model Carrie Kaligi. The model stated that the assault occurred in 1991 when she was just 17 years old. Her and Simmons went out to dinner that night along with Simmons' protege at the time, Brett Ratner, as part of a casting call. After dinner, Simmons invited Kaligi to his apartment to show her a music video they'd been working on. When she arrived, Simmons began to make unwanted sexual advances. He would continue to pressure and coerce Kaligi to perform sexual acts, and she stated that he briefly penetrated her without consent. She said all of this occurred while Ratner simply sat and watched it all happen. Simmons would deny the accusation, saying that the encounter was completely consensual and with Carrie's full participation. Just a couple weeks after the first accusation, on November 30th, writer Jenny Lumet wrote a column for The Reporter titled "Russell Simmons Sexually Violated Me." In the column, she detailed that in 1991, the then 24-year-old writer was offered a ride home from Simmons, stating, "I got into the car with you. The driver began to drive. I assumed you knew where I lived because you had sent me 250 balloons, but I gave the driver my address on 19th Street and 2nd Avenue. You said to the driver, no. I didn't understand, so I said, Russell? I said again to the driver, 19th Street. Again, you said to the driver, no. Then the car doors locked. It was loud. The noise made me jump." She continued to write that when they arrived, she was essentially frozen in fear, and so she simply did what she was told. In the column, she continues to say, "I never told anyone this story until October 27th of this year, after the Harvey Weinstein story was in the news, but weeks before the first public claims were made against you, when I told a girlfriend from childhood." As things began to snowball in the press, Simmons decided to step down from his various businesses, including Def Jam. On December 13th, the New York and LA Times reported that 4 additional women had accused Simmons of rape in incidents spanning from 1983 to 1996, and another 5 women describing incidents of sexual misconduct, with some as recently as 2016. In total, there were 13 women that had come out with claims of sexual assault against Simmons. With him being under investigation and his reputation going down the drain, Simmons would ironically begin spending a lot more time in Indonesia, specifically the island of Bali. Now, many are speculating that he clearly left to avoid prosecution, considering the country doesn't have any extradition treaty with the United States. But Simmons persists on his reason for being there is to simply continue his journey of enlightenment and to continue his yoga studies.
So you know I'm back and forth. So the person called me and said to me, "They think you're hiding." Well, who cares what they think? This is what we have to separate ourselves from, the idea of they think.
Simmons would lay low for a while as the controversy would die down a bit, but things quickly resurfaced when in January of 2020, filmmakers Amy Ziering and Kirby Dick released a documentary about the alleged assaults titled On the Record. It would premiere at the Sundance Film Festival and would eventually get picked up and released on HBO Max. The documentary tells the story of Drew Dixon, who worked as an A&R and executive at Def Jam during the 90s. In the film, she shares that he would often sexually harass her during her years at the record label. It started off with him trying to kiss Dixon, but then it got so bad that he would actually go into her office, lock the door, and expose himself.
I didn't tell that many people about what happened with Russell. He just grabbed me. He just grabbed me. And I'm saying no. I was reduced to nothing in that moment.
The film also goes into depth about the misogynistic culture that formed during that era, where harassment in the workplace was essentially commonplace. And in order for women to get ahead career-wise, they often had to uncomfortably play along with unwanted sexual advances from powerful men. Now, currently, Simmons continues to maintain a low profile, making very few media appearances. But even with his efforts to steer clear from any attention, it wouldn't last long as his family drama would make the news. In 2021, Simmons filed a lawsuit against his ex-wife, Kimora Lee Simmons, for allegedly stealing money from stocks they had in the energy drink company Celsius. Lee would use these shares to pay for her new husband, banker Timothy Leisner's bail fees. Leisner was facing jail time when he pled guilty for scamming almost $4 billion from people in Malaysia. Simmons would ultimately lose the court battle and was ordered to pay $100,000 in legal fees. Most recently, on Father's Day of 2023, the Simmons family drama took to social media, and it involved the couple's two daughters, Ming and Aoki. It started with an Instagram post uploaded by Ming on June 18th, where she wished her mother a happy Father's Day. This would lead to a string of back and forths online between her and her father, where Simmons responded with a post stating, "Stop telling fathers they should have fought harder to see their children and start asking mothers why he had to fight at all." Shortly after the subliminal messages, Aoki would add to the fire by posting a muted video of Russell appearing to yell at her over FaceTime. Now, with his family drama being aired out on social media, apparent financial troubles, and history of allegations, Simmons' legacy has clearly taken a hit. From beloved hip-hop godfather Uncle Rush to alleged sexual predator, it's sad to see the series of events that have occurred. As a businessman and visionary, what he's accomplished over the years is remarkable. But if he is indeed guilty of these allegations, we only hope that he expresses remorse and work toward becoming a better human being.